BMW Fairfield.
Well, what a gorgeous Monday night for a football game down in Santa Clara. Welcome, Damon and Ratto, coming to you live from the Hilton in Santa Clara. Our coverage brought to you by Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey. Taste the world's #1 bourbon. Can we get Ray a bourbon? How drunk can we get Ray before kickoff tonight?
Well, don't just stand there. Go.
Get this man a bourbon. Bring this man some beef. Harris Ranch beef, of course, preferred. Man, thank you so much. Chavez Supermarkets, where all your beef and tailgating needs, you go there to find everything you need. Thank you for tuning in. And, man, we got a big one tonight, Ray. I don't think there's much hype that we can put on a Week 4 NFL game. But if you're talking about the road less traveled or a smoother ride to where you want to go, the playoffs, this is one of those games where we are looking at a little bit of a fork in the road. You're going to join the ranks at 2-2. And be right in the smack dab middle of any and all NFL conversations when this game ends tonight. Or you're 1-3, and you are dead last in the NFC West. And that's really not a position you ever want to be operating from as an NFL team.
No, 1-3 is less good than 2-2.
Thank you.
But the only thing that I would say, not as rebuttal, it's that we're not going to know, A, what this team is for another 8 to 10 weeks, but what the conference is in another 8 to 10 weeks. They could conceivably lose tonight with the subsequent panicking, and then they've got Carolina and Atlanta after that. And those are not only beatable teams, they're very beatable teams.
Carolina, yes. I think Atlanta's got a little more spiciness than I expected them to have this year, so I'm not going to chalk that up to being easy, especially with it being an odd road trip where they're going to spend 2 weeks on the road. They're going to go to West Virginia and stay at the Greenbrier. That was shared by Cam Inman the last time we talked to him. So it's just, do you want a bumpy road back to 500, or do you want to get to 500 tonight? That's the question for the 49ers. It feels like a big game. I mean, beyond the rivalry in division, it's the rivalry of Northern California and Southern California. You have the established, I don't want to call it regular season dominance, but one thing that Kyle Shanahan does, probably more routinely than any other thing that Kyle Shanahan does, is beat the Rams in the regular season. And then, of course, the huge bragging rights that the Rams then took back by taking the NFC title game last year.
Yeah, well, it's their first real measuring stick, because I don't think anybody thinks that they're as bad as Chicago, Seattle, and Denver. I think they look at that and go, they've played poorly twice and well once. So basically the 49ers are, to be fairest about it, they're an erratic team. You've gotten excellent defense 3 times in a row, and you've gotten good offense once. So I think tonight is the first time you can measure this team against a team that has genuine, big playoff aspirations and see, well, how close are you to them? Yeah, because the 49ers right now don't know what they are. We kind of know what the Rams are. And the Rams are not playing at nearly the level they played at last year, but they're still better than average.
They are better than average. There's no doubt about that, but they have a running game that has basically put them in the caboose of NFL running games. They are a one-dimensional team offensively because the offense right now is basically just get the ball to Cooper Kupp. He is doing the lion's share of the work for the Rams. So shutting Cooper Kupp down tonight is job one for a 49ers defense. And for a 49ers offense, we know what the job is. The job that Kyle Shanahan wants done is to run the ball and control the clock against this team specifically. That's the way Kyle goes about dealing with the Rams. It is predictable, if you will, at times when the Niners come on out against the Rams. They run a little bit more. Not only is it playing to the strength of the Niners offense over the last few years, but it keeps, an offense that can scare you and does scare you off the field as much as possible. So we'll see what the Niners have going tonight for them across the line of scrimmage. We know that they'll be looking at Aaron Donald across the line of scrimmage. And just that, on the surface of you're playing Aaron Donald tonight, sounds like you're in for a very, very long night. And he is a preeminent game wrecker. But against the 49ers lately, Ray, and I can't explain it, Aaron Donald has done a lot more wearing beige and blending into a game than jumping out as this dominant defensive force. Aaron Donald has 1 sack in his past 5 games against the 49ers after having 10.5 in the previous 6. So when it comes to slowing down Aaron Donald, we might have to give this team a lot more credit than we can give most NFL teams, because they've actually done it. And they haven't always done it with a premier interior line. We've seen Daniel Brunskill go out and have very good days against Aaron Donald. Why? I don't think I can conclude a why, but it just happens. And tonight, the test for Aaron Donald really belongs to Jake Brindle, to Aaron Banks, and Spencer Burford. And if they can keep him in check tonight, that goes a long way to getting the Niners where they need to be.
Well, I have a theory about why Aaron Donald does not jump out at you against 49ers. And it's that the 49ers don't put themselves in passing situations. And Aaron Donald directs games by destroying quarterbacks. Quarterbacks who don't have the ball don't really become part of what Aaron Donald does. So I think what it is the 49ers have been able, over the last 4 years, to run the ball effectively, thereby neutralizing the thing that makes you notice Aaron Donald. And the Rams are not, or have not been, an extraordinary defense against the run. And I think that's largely why the 49ers have done well against the Rams. And then really, they probably would have lost the conference final last year if not for that one defensive breakdown. It's just, the 49ers do the one thing the Rams don't prevent well, and they take away the weapon that does the most damage, which is Aaron Donald.
We are, with every passing minute, getting closer to kickoff tonight. Monday Night Football starts at 5:15, and Ray and I are going to obviously walk you up to that game tonight. We got a great show in about an hour from now. The Hall of Famer, the playmaker himself, Michael Irvin, will join us. Larry Krueger stops on by as we get even closer to kickoff to focus on what the Niners need to do tonight. The trends in this series are pretty clear-cut, and we will go over them again and again and again. And does Kyle Shanahan hold serve with his trends, or is tonight possibly going to be a little something different? Are the Niners going to try to play left-handed just a little bit against the Los Angeles Rams? We're coming to you live from the Hilton Santa Clara. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day down here. I mean, in the city, it is 15 degrees colder than it is in Santa Clara right now. So it looks like a great day to come on down early, fire up that grill. You can stop on by the tailgate here at the Hilton as well. All sorts of food. Got a DJ, got a bar outside. So come on. I see Daryl the Guru Johnson milling around, kissing babies, shaking hands. Matt Steinmetz dealing with his adoring public. So like 2 guys, about 2 guys.
Yeah,
and
it's a quiet room.
It's not the loudest of rooms. But we got ourselves a great day down here in Santa Clara, and we're also brought to you by BMW Fairfield, now open in the Fairfield Auto Mall. Since opening their doors in July of 2021, BMW Fairfield has become the top-rated BMW dealer in the Bay Area. Why? Well, go find out for yourself. You can make an appointment to visit them today at bmwfairfield.com to book a visit. Again, the Niners booked here on Monday Night Football. The 49ers have beaten the Rams in each of their past 3 Monday Night Football meetings. They're actually 10-4 in their last 14 Monday Night Football games, but are just 4-3 on Monday Night Football here at Turkey on the 50 field at Levi's Stadium. But they are set up for a little history. A win tonight would tie the 49ers with now the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most wins ever on Monday Night Football. The Steelers have 51. The Cowboys have 50. The 49ers have 50. The Cowboys have 49. The Dolphins have 43. The Raiders, who used to be the kings of Monday Night Football until a bad 30-year stretch, put them at now 5th all-time with 42. So, little Monday Night Football history could possibly be up for grabs tonight, but more importantly, position in their own division. That is where the 49ers are concentrating their efforts tonight. They're either going to fall all the way back in the pack at 1-3, or they'll be in a logjam of everybody in this division looking at 2-2 because the Rams are 2-1, so they're a loss away from being 2-2. Seattle yesterday won in Detroit in a shootout that looked like a Big 12 game, almost 1,000 yards of offense. So the Seahawks are now 2-2. Arizona goes into Carolina, finds a win. They're 2-2. So the 49ers do not want to be 1-3. 1-3, that's Raidersville. You don't want to be living in Raidersville right now. There is just one winless team remaining in the NFL, and it's the Houston Texans, who actually have a tie on their record. So they're not as bad as haven't won yet, but they're still winless with now 2 losses and a tie scored against them as well. The Raiders did get their first win of the year over Denver yesterday. The Eagles are the NFL's last remaining unbeaten team after yesterday's action wrapped up. They're now 4-0, and we're going to be talking to Michael Irvin about all of that because we're at the first quarter pole of the NFL season. So getting a little feel for the league is something we're going to try to do with Michael a little bit later on. And talking to you about how the Niners get this one tonight is what we're about to do until Michael Irvin joins us, Larry Krueger, a little bit later on. And we got open lines and want to ask you, what do the Niners need to do tonight to pick up a win against the Rams on Monday Night Football? 888-957-9570 is the number. Damon and Ratto live from the Hilton in Santa Clara, brought to you by Jim Beam Whiskey and by our good friends at Harris Ranch Beef. It is good to have you here. We got ourselves a little football coming up tonight. We're excited to be down here. Hopefully you're excited to go. This is going to wrap up Week 4 in the NFL. Damon and Ratto here on 95.7 The Game, brought to you by Pfizer and BioNTech. And, of course, you can download everything we do here on the Odyssey app, which you can download for free today.
Charging a cell phone can be like getting a booster shot. A booster is given to enhance or restore protection after a primary series vaccination, which wanes over time. Schedule an appointment when you are eligible. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
It's a monster Monday night mashup.
Shut up, all of you. Just beat the Rams.
We're live from the Hilton Santa Clara for Monday Night Football.
Quarterback sneak. Jimmy Garoppolo puts it away for San Francisco.
On the Bay Area's sports station, 95.7 The Game.
At Harris Ranch, we do beef, just like we've done for over 50 years. Beef that's raised locally right here in California. The flavor you crave, the quality you trust time after delicious time. Harris Ranch, we do beef.
Dr. Trudy Fleer here with the 5G Home Recovery Podcast. Let's discuss a very real existential threat to internet speed. It's a big one. Ready? T-Mobile Home Internet. It lags. Ugh. Now, what is lag? Lag is a delay in data being transmitted across the internet. For example, you're hitting that hot drop, the parachute cuts out, you've got an unsuspecting bot in your sights, and lag! You were actually eliminated 10 seconds ago. Nobody deserves that. So stop letting T-Mobile Home Internet ruin everything and switch to Xfinity. Learn more at xfinity.com/TMOFax.
Get an amazing value on Xfinity Internet with unlimited data included. Switch for $55 a month for 2 full years with no annual contract required and no equipment fees for 24 months. Go to xfinity.com/TMOFax, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay. Ends 10/17/22. Restrictions apply. New fast internet and xFi Complete customers only. xFi Gateway required. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. After 24 months, regular rates apply to all services and devices.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
The following is an attorney advertisement. If you get sidelined by a workplace injury, the workers' compensation attorneys at Boxer and Gerson can help get you back in the game. Our team of skilled attorneys will fight by your side for the treatment and compensation you deserve. We care about justice for injured workers. That's what makes us Northern California's premier workers' comp law firm. Call Boxer and Gerson at 510-345-2341 or visit boxerlaw.com for a free consultation. Boxer and Gerson, your life is worth the fight. The Golf Mart, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee, serving Northern California golfers for over 30 years.
Fremont Bank. If there's one thing we understand more than anybody, it's that it takes a local bank to really get the needs of local businesses. Fremont Bank has the flexibility and motivation to service your business loan needs like other banks can't or won't. With our full suite of business loan products and recognition as a top SBA lender in the Bay Area, Fremont Bank is the right choice for local and family-owned businesses. Fremont Bank. Learn more at fremontbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When back to the office means back in traffic,
Tracking the 3 right lanes, multiple emergency crews on the scene.
you can rely on your Northern California Honda Dealers Traffic Center.
On the shoulder now, so that's good. Traffic is getting by.
From your traffic leader, KCBS.
The roar of our engines, the pump of our heartbeats, the pedal to our metal, the sparks that ignite us, the pistons that push us, the passions that drive us. From the feelings that move us to the places that pull us on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Anywhere fans go to cheer on their team, there are behind-the-scenes MVPs, ensuring everything is game day ready. We see you, Joe, fixing seats so every fan can enjoy every game. And Allie, who keeps her stadium running smoothly from the moment the first game starts to the last play of the season. At Grainger, you're our MVPs, and we're always here for you, with supplies and solutions for every industry and 24/7 customer support. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Chest up, engage your core, dig
At Misty's gym, boot camp gets pretty close to the real thing. She wants to spot a personal trainer with a military background.
I can cover this week's boot camp, but we need someone staff. Isn't your cousin a Marine?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Cuomo premieres on News Nation tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Now back to Damon and Ratto, live from the Hilton Santa Clara on 95.7 The Game. Brought to you by BMW Fairfield. Now open in the Fairfield Auto Mall. Visit bmwfairfield.com today to book your visit.
Oh, welcome to you. Damon and Ratto coming to you live from the Hilton in Santa Clara. Brought to you by Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey. Taste the world's #1 bourbon. And by Harris Ranch Beef. Visit your local Chavez supermarkets for all of your beef and tailgate needs. Ray, I always knew you and I would be getting a hotel together.
The hell we are.
It's good to be hanging out here. We got a beautiful day to tailgate ahead of a Monday night football game, 49ers and Rams. The final act of Week 4 in the NFL. We got an awful lot to talk about leading you up to kickoff tonight. And one of the things that we also have to talk about, Ray, it's really going to be, I think, the only thing that we get in today that isn't specifically about this game until we go around the NFL with Michael Irvin at 4:15. But I think you and I, after discussing it so much on Friday, need to follow up a little bit on Tua and what the Miami Dolphins and the NFL are doing regarding concussions, because just last night on Sunday Night Football, you had Cameron Brate coming out of the game, then going back into the game, and then coming out of the game at halftime, and that was when they decided he had a concussion. So, you know, The Dolphins found their fall guy, and we knew that they would. Apparently, the independent neuroscientist has been fired, and I don't know how the Dolphins can fire anyone who is operating independently, but I guess they've said that they're not going to be going back to him, or they're not going to be going to that neuroscientist's doctor's office for further independent evaluations because he blew his concussion evaluation. The NFL says it's going to take another look at protocols. And I'm just going to ask, do you think that that is going to affect real, honest change, or is it lip service in the moment that will fade into the background the minute that this topic fades back into the background?
It's definitely lip service because the outrage over what happened to Tagovailoa was clear and obvious. And yet you saw, and you referred to it, Cameron Brate.
Just last night.
Yeah, goes out. And then they just decide, oh, no, he's fine, and then send him back in. It means that the protocols are clearly inadequate, and it doesn't matter how they arrived at them. So this is not a negotiating thing. It's that there is nobody on either side, on any of the sides, really, that wants to say, he's concussed, he can't play. They all want to try to figure out ways for concussions not to be concussions. Right. That's the mindset that's got to be wrecked. Because that's the thing that gets players in trouble. Because they don't want to leave the game. The teams don't want them not to play. The union doesn't want to be the heavies in this. And the fact is, somebody's got to be the mean dean of students. And nobody in the National Football League hierarchy, and that includes the players' union and the players themselves, wants to be the dean of students. Somebody's got to do that in every stadium. And nobody wants to do it.
Don't you think this is opportunity lost for Roger Goodell himself in his commissionership, where he's always pitted as someone who is, against the players? What if he came out saying, to me, the goal of concussion protocol is to eliminate the player from going back into the game more than it is to wave the white flag for his reentry? It feels like Roger Goodell could really take this bull by the horns and say, this is going to be sort of the hallmark now of my commissionership. I am going to take concussions and player safety on the topic of in-game sustained this afternoon fear of concussion to a level that maybe coaches and franchises and owners are uncomfortable with, but man, for the first time ever, the players might actually sing my praises.
The problem is he has no constituency that would back his play if he was even remotely interested in doing that. And I don't think he is, because he knows
how the sausage is made.
Well, he knows, A, how the sausage is made, and B, who provides him with the money to buy the sausage. The owners don't want the commissioner meddling in any of their business. You just go out there and make money for us. You're an employee. So this has nothing to do with what Roger Goodell would like to do. And I'm not saying he wouldn't like to protect players, but he's got as much heat at that as I do. That's not going to happen. So it's not really a moment for Roger Goodell. It's a moment for somebody, and I don't know even who that is at this point, to simply say, you need an adult that has nothing to do with any of you. Nobody you can talk to or influence or lean on. And the NFL doesn't do business with people like that. They don't do business with truly independent people who can make sticking judgments that they can't overturn in 5 minutes. So I think it's a grand idea that has no constituency behind it. So it dies on the vine.
So, like I was suggesting on Friday, when everyone was up in arms, this is a cause celeb. It won't be very much of a celebrity a few weeks from now. I mean, it's so funny. Quarterback gets concussed. The world wants to hold an on-field martyrdom for that quarterback. Tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whatever. Like, the reaction to Cameron Brate going back into that game today is the equivalent of a harumph from the NFL in comparison to the, loud echoes of outrage that came from Tua.
Well, but here's the thing. I mean, you're asking for like a public outcry for a tight end who, it wasn't nearly as egregious as the Tagovailoa.
Right, and didn't come with a sexy video.
No, so and they're going to react to that. But the principle remains the same. The National Football League has been lousy on this issue since day one. The Players Union has never pushed back on it, which is their own shame. And the fact is, players are getting damaged on a weekly basis by it. There are a lot of guys who get taken out. Oh, I just got this bell rung. Well, that's a ridiculous old standard that shouldn't be endured. But they all endure it, and they try to write it off as, well, they knew the job was dangerous when they took it. Well, that's just stupid. It's not about trying to assess culpability. This is about protection. And if you have to tell a player, you can't go in again today, he might pitch a fit and his coach might pitch a fit. But the real problem is not that it's a cause celeb. It's that it's a genuine problem that nobody within the industry is interested in knowing about, let alone solving. And anyone who says they are is either outside the circle of power or is just BSing. It is a genuine issue that ought to be treated like one, but there's nobody who's going to be able to say, look, I'm in charge here, I'm deciding, because nobody wants to be that.
All gas, no brakes, very little changes.
Well, there's plenty of gas. There are brakes. All you have to do is basically declare somebody the czar of medicine, and just say, both sides will pay. Nobody gets to talk to the guy, ever. He just decides, he's going out, they're putting him in the tent, it's head-related, he's done for the day. And then...
Right, communicating only with a player agent. Doesn't even talk to the team, doesn't talk to the league, just player agent.
Not even the agent.
You got to talk to somebody. You want to have the player's mom on his phone?
Well, no, I mean...
maybe mom would have his best interest, right?
Well, no, he goes into the tent, and it looks like a head injury. That guy just decides from distance, that looks like it might be a head injury, that's enough for me. But it's not a head injury. You can't know that. I said, I'm using judgment based on caution first. If I'm wrong, then he just didn't play the rest of the game. Deal with it. You got 52 other guys.
You know what I think might be part of the problem? That blue tent might not be really a good place to do a concussion evaluation, because you're still surrounded by the atmosphere of an NFL game. And I'm sure I don't know if that blue tent is actually a friend of players or a foe of players, and they shouldn't just be carting these guys back to the locker room for proper evaluations in a quiet work spot where conversations can be had. There's no ticking of an NFL sideline waiting to get a player back into a game. Maybe that blue tent isn't the ally that it's framed to be.
No, well, it isn't. But neither is taking them back under the stands either. It's if you're in the stadium, somebody's going to say, come on, let's get this going. Come on, hurry up. And the player himself is going to lean on that. What you need is somebody who is allowed the power to just make the decision. It looks like a head injury. I may be wrong, I may be right, but that's my best judgment. And he's not playing again today. Done.
Right, that's ball game.
Yeah, that's it. That way there's no arguments, no influence that you can make, none of that. It's the only way this will work, even if, and it may not work this way either, because football is basically designed by psychotics, for psychotics, but that's your only way out. And I don't believe anybody wants to take that, because they would rather guess on the side of player plays rather than, no, injured player sits.
Damon and Ratto here on 95.7 The Game. We're coming to you live from the Hilton Santa Clara. Our coverage ahead of Monday Night Football brought to you by Jim Beam and by Harris Ranch Beef. We are also brought to you by our friends at BMW Fairfield, now open in the Fairfield Auto Mall with over 400 Google reviews in. They have the highest rating of any BMW dealer in Northern California. Find out why for yourself. Visit bmwfairfield.com today to book your visit. We will obviously continue this conversation with Michael Irvin himself, a guy who knows the league like the back of his hand. He joins us at 4:15 this afternoon. In about an hour and 15 minutes from now, Larry Krueger is going to stop on by the Hilton and get us ready for a little kickoff on Monday Night Football, where again the 49ers have a chance to tie the Steelers for the most wins ever in the history of Monday Night Football at 51 each. Now, in order to do that, as we said, they're going to have to get around Aaron Donald. And to me, getting around Aaron Donald means you are scoring some points, because that's really the missing ingredient from this 49ers season so far. Their defensive expectations are high. I don't care who they're playing. They're supposed to keep their opponent to under 21 points, and they've been doing it so far. As a matter of fact, they're only giving up 12 points per game. While this offense is struggling to come in around 16 points per game, and maybe something that can sort of unlock the offense tonight is George Kittle. And it feels like a tough night to ask him to go out and do it, because we know that Trent Williams is out, and as good of a blocker as Kittle is, you'd figure without your starting left tackle, Kittle's importance as a blocker multiplies. But man, I think he is a key ingredient in just getting this offense, and especially Jimmy Garoppolo, comfortable in a passing game. Kittle's managed at least 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown in his last 4 games against the Rams at Levi Stadium. He loves seeing the Rams on his schedule. As a matter of fact, George Kittle is the ultimate Ram killer since he was drafted into the league. George Kittle has 49 catches, 706 yards, and 5 touchdowns against the Rams since he was drafted in 2017. All are NFL opponent highs against the Rams over that time. So how do you get Kittle going in a passing game, get Kittle going in a series he's gotten going in historically, and have him be a big part of this team's blocking scheme? It's tough. It's a very hard needle to thread.
It is, but the problem that you have is that you only have the one. You only have the one Kittle. And if you don't have blocking, it sort of doesn't matter what else you do. So I don't know that Kittle is necessarily the thing they have to get going, as much as they have to be able to run the ball. There's only one game going back to 2018 in which they couldn't run the ball successfully at all. And that was the conference final last year. They went 21 for 50, which is a terrible average, and it showed in the end. Every other time, they were at 100 or more, and they won 6 of those 9. So I think the template is right there for them. So I think maybe the key here is Jeff Wilson, because he's the guy who's going to get the most carries, I would presume. But if it's not Jeff Wilson specifically, it's a running game, because the first thing is the running game, if it's effective, will keep their offense off the field. Secondly, it will keep Aaron Donald busy at something other than the thing that's going to send him to the Hall of Fame. You can get the ball to Kittle because you're still going to throw 20 times, and that's a conservative estimate. You can get the ball to Kittle enough, but if you don't run, they don't have a definable offense that's going to work. And the longer you have your defense on the field, the greater the chance for the odd breakdown. So I think it's their ability to run that separates them from the Rams when they play each other. And their inability to run was most exposed in the most important game they've played in years.
Well, look, if you're talking about the trends that the 49ers always want in play when they're taking on the Rams, it's running that ball and keeping the Rams offense on the sidelines. The 49ers have 30 or more carries in 5 of their last 6 regular season games against the Rams. So that is the way to get into the win column. And last year's game here in Santa Clara saw the 49ers run the ball 44 times against the Los Angeles defense. That's their most rushing attempts for the 49ers against the Rams since 1986. And I don't even believe shotgun formations or the forward pass was even allowed in 1986. So it was a much different NFL back in 1986, and the Niners brought us back to 86 just last year in a game against the Rams here at Levi Stadium. Now, running that many times with just Jeff Wilson Jr., we know that they're not going to ask him. So Jordan Mason, the unproven, undrafted rookie, we might see him tonight. Tevin Coleman is a recent addition to the 49ers practice squad, elevated, I believe, for tonight's game. And maybe the former Niner, former Hoosier, can be a little bit of the rushing attack tonight. It'll be interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan doesn't lean on the veteran he knows about before he leans on the rookie that he might think give him something.
Well, that's sort of been his MO, is go with the thing you've seen do it before.
Yeah.
I know that there are some people who don't like that approach, but that is who Kyle Shanahan is. Says, I like guys with a track record. And you've seen baseball managers who believe that. You've seen basketball people who believe in that.
Steve Kerr believes in that.
Yeah, if you've shown me that you can do this, I'm going to rely on you to do it. So I think it is going to be a big night for Jeff Wilson, at least in terms of attempts early. I think you might see Marlon Mack. He's done it before. Tevin Coleman is another. I don't know that he's necessarily going to go younger, unless he wants to just show a bunch of running backs and keep them as fresh as possible and just pound them. I mean, the way they did last year with the 44 attempts for 156 yards. I think Kyle Shanahan is probably most comfortable with that. And I think he expects to see whether the Rams can stop that, because they've only done it once.
We know that as long as things are going well, Jimmy is going to enjoy some home field advantage. But I wonder how quickly we might see fans turn on Garoppolo in this building if he's playing a sloppy brand or an uninspiring brand of football early on. I'll tell you, over the past 15 seasons, so this predates Jimmy, but there is a problem when the Niners turn the ball over. They sometimes turn it over in bunches. They really do. Over the past 15 seasons, the Niners have 8 games in which they've turned the ball over 3 times and surrendered a safety. That's twice as many as any other team in that span. The Giants actually have 4 of those games. And believe it or not, as you could probably predict, the 49ers are winless in those games. They are 0-8 in those games. So getting crispy offensively tonight, it's a must. It has to happen. And if Jimmy can't show it in a week where he had an extra day to prepare, an extra day to rest, an extra day to get his body into game shape, an extra day of practice, an extra day of running with the ones, even though he's had 6 years essentially of running with the ones. So this is set up to be a successful night for the 49ers as much as you could predict a successful night for the 49ers. A team that Kyle Shanahan routinely beats in the regular season is in the building tonight. The Niners are comfortable on Monday Night Football, and there should be a really good crowd in here tonight. And let me just say this. I think a lot of people know I'm not a particular fan of Levi's Stadium. Its architecture, its construction, to me, it just comes up short in infinity categories. Like, it really, really does. But you want to know the one thing it kind of has going for it is that this stadium's lack of appeal, is absolutely a talking point around the NFL, and I think it keeps it off the opposing fan gotta go see it with your own 2 eyes list. I watched that Raiders game yesterday against Denver, and that building had to have been 65 to 70% Broncos fans in there. There was more orange than silver and black in Allegiant Stadium as the Raiders found their first win of the year. There will probably never be more of the opposing fan in this building because the word is out on the building. It's officially no big whoop. So unless you really wanted to get to a Niner game, unless you really wanted to get to Santa Clara, because, again, a lot of people find out it's nowhere near San Francisco, so staying there and traveling here, not too convenient. It's actually maybe the one element that can be turned into an advantage at Levi's Stadium. And right now, it is my duty to inform you that the 49ers are riding their longest home winning streak in the history of this place. They've won 5 in a row, and tonight, if they win it, would make 6 in a row. They've never won 6 in a row at Levi's Stadium. So we'll see if they can do it tonight.
Well, the other thing, too, is that they travel well. So these are not people who are going to willingly give up their tickets very freely or even resell them at less than an exorbitant rate. So they're sort of imbued with the idea that, well, we got to be at the game. So I think in addition to whatever deficiencies the stadium might have, people, they put up with the deficiencies of Candlestick Park for decades, and they turned out. If the team is good, they show up. So, the Raiders are a bad example only because they designed their entire fan base around the idea that 70% of them don't live in Las Vegas. They wanted a third from LA, they wanted a quarter to a third from the Bay Area, and they wanted everybody else except for the 10% who live in Vegas to be the other team. So they were prepared for that. What they weren't prepared for, I think, is how quickly the local fans would promptly sell their tickets to the highest bidder, and you get enough people in football mad towns like Denver, yeah, I'll do that. Plus, I'll spend the airfare. Plus, I'll spend the hotel fare. I'm ready to blow a bunch of money in Las Vegas for a weekend and watch my team.
It's an event beyond just an NFL game.
So they're signing up for that, and the Raiders knew that and didn't care because they needed bodies and they needed money.
Well, what the 49ers need is a win tonight to even maintain, if you want to say it's an illusion of a good start. 2-2. Technically, it's not a bad start. It's not a great start. It's as average as you can be. But the difference between 2-2 and 1-3 is massive, not only just against the rest of the league, but in this division. Rams win tonight, they go to 2-2. The Seahawks are 2-2. The Cardinals are 2-2. 49ers do not want to be 1-3 if they lose tonight. This is a big one. This is a big one early on. And if the 49ers are going to get around the first quarter pole of the season, I suggest they do it with the win because, boy, it makes the road ahead a lot less bumpy. We got an awful lot coming up for you. Michael Irvin joins us in about a half an hour from now, the Hall of Famer, to go over what the Niners need to do tonight, what makes Cooper Kupp so special, and we're going to bounce around the entire league and do a little Tua concussion follow-up with him as well. Larry Krueger is going to join us at 4:45, and you're welcome to join us right now as well at 888-957-9570. 888-957-9570 is the number. What do the Niners do? How do they beat the Rams tonight? We'd love to hear from you as we're rolling from down at the Hilton in Santa Clara. Damon and Ratto, brought to you by Fremont Bank. Full service banking, no compromises.
Don't pop the champagne just yet. I'm Joe Giller here to help you beat the books with BetQL. The Phillies' magic number is 1 as they enter the final 3 games of the regular season.
You'd think, so how good could that hotel tailgate really be? It's legit. It's absolutely legit. Come on out and find out for yourself. The lobby in the Santa Clara Hilton is bumping. The tailgate outside is bumping right now. There is an awful lot of enthusiasm ahead of Monday Night Football here. Damon and Ratto at the Hilton in Santa Clara, brought to you by Jim Beam Whiskey. Taste the world's #1 bourbon, and by Harris Ranch Beef. Visit your local Chavez supermarkets for all of your beef and tailgate needs. It is good to have you here. Damon and Ratto, about less than a half an hour away from saying hello to Michael Irvin. Always a phenomenal conversation on a Monday afternoon after an exciting weekend of football, which wraps up with Monday Night Football. Here tonight, Larry Krueger stops on by at 4:45. About a half an hour later than that, it is going to be kickoff from Levi Stadium. It's a big one for the 49ers, who do not want to go to bed tonight in last place at 1-3. They just want to be in a 2-2 logjam, which every team in the division would be if the Niners pick up a win here tonight. If the Niners are going to win, Ray, they're going to have to slow down, because I don't know if there is any shutting down Cooper Kupp. I mean, it's one of those, you cannot stop him, you can only hope to contain him level of talents that has emerged from this guy. I actually was one of the last people on board on the Cooper Kupp train, just figuring it's got to be gimmicky. It's got to be bells and whistles. It's not like this guy's picking up yards by out-athleting defender after defender after defender. It's wrong of me to put the stereotypes of, I'll say it, a white boy wide receiver on Cooper Kupp. He is an absolute handful. And you can expect a cupful tonight, especially with Allen Robinson probably being this year's early clubhouse leader for free agent flops so far. Since he's joined the Rams, he's basically been on the side of a milk carton. Cooper Kupp has carried even more of an offensive load for the Rams than last season so far. He scored on an end around just last week. 2021's Offensive Player of the Year is averaging a modest 51 yards per game in his 7 career meetings against the 49ers. So just when they thought they might have had him figured out, he turned around and dropped one of the all-time NFC title game performances, where he tore up the Niners with 11 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm guessing, Mooney Ward, Charvarius Ward starts out on Kupp, but I don't know if he's going to be following him all over the field. And Cooper Kupp, he lines up a little bit everywhere.
Yeah, he's a hard guy to keep track of, and he's a brilliant route runner in that he will break off a route at just the right time for just the right reason. And whether it was Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford, they read him and he read them. I think he's one of those guys. He's a little bit, and this is not an exact comp, but he was a little bit like Fred Biletnikoff in that he knew how to make his quarterback happy. And it wasn't catching the ball. It was being in the right position to catch the ball that was thrown to him. So he's largely made both of those quarterbacks very happy by not only catching the ball when it's right where it needs to be, but when it's not where it needs to be. He's just that good. As far as his numbers, though, it really wasn't until last year that he broke out either against the 49ers or anybody else. I mean, he was really an afterthought in that offense. But it wasn't so much, I think, the big game that he had that you referenced, but it was the conference final where they were basically doing everything but tackling him. And he still caught all 7 targets for like 118. And at that point, you have to go, you know what? He's too good for anybody to corral. What they have to do is be able to not get hurt by anybody else. And part of last year was Kupp had Odell Beckham on the other side, which meant you kind of had to single him more. And one guy is going to have to cheat like a bastard to stop Cooper Kupp.
Allen Robinson has not been a compliment. Obviously, Robert Woods is out of the picture, and Odell Beckham is, he's just not on the team right now.
He's an injured free agent.
Yeah, exactly. So, having said that, he's still got a greater presence, I think, on the Rams than Allen Robinson has had since showing up as a member of the Rams I'm stunned that Allen Robinson, now playing for the best coach he's ever played for, with the best quarterbacks he's ever played with, has been such a huge scoop of nothing, because he was the only hope of a passing game for years in Chicago and actually did his job to fill that hope. He was good. Allen Robinson went from a really good player in a bad situation to a really good situation, which has turned him into a hard-to-find player. It's one of the bigger head-scratchers that this NFL season has really produced so far early on. I know that anyone who went out to spend a fantasy draft pick on Allen Robinson is nodding along in agreement. This is another thing that we're going to talk about to Michael Irvin when he joins us at 4:15 this afternoon. But back to Cooper Kupp. This guy hasn't even played this week, and he's got the fourth most catches in the NFL. He's tied at number 4 with Justin Jefferson. He's already got 28 catches on the year, 28 receptions, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's got another touchdown on the ground as well. He's been targeted 35 times through 3 weeks, so he's getting 10 looks a game from Stafford. And it's really all intermediate and underneath stuff from Cooper Kupp right now. He is yet to take the lid off of defense. He has 0 receptions of 40 yards or more. So it's a lot of quick stuff. He is the peskiest underneath route runner in football. He's got 4 catches of 20 or more yards. So he is the ultimate chain mover, and Charvarius Ward and company have their work cut out slowing him down tonight. It's one of the hardest tasks, I think, for any secondary in football.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing that makes Kupp dangerous is that you can't, back up against him. You have to have him covered at the line of scrimmage and never let him have a step. Because if he has a step, then he's beat you. And it doesn't matter whether that step is toward the middle, toward the sideline, or upfield. Because once he's got you beat, you can't close that because he's too good a route runner. And I think the problem that the Rams may be facing here is that Kupp is so reliable and so automatic. I mean, he's caught 28 of the 35 targets. Is that Stafford has not yet developed that level of comfort with Allen Robinson. I mean, he's targeted him 12 times in 3 games. And for Robinson to be effective, he's got to be more of a role in the offense. And it's not, I think, all on him as much as it is Cooper Kupp's like going to the ATM. If you put your card in, you're getting the money you asked for. And I don't think Allen Robinson, has shown that yet, or even has been asked to. I don't watch the Rams, with the same, sort of eye for things that I would watch 49ers. But I think that's probably a lot of it is, who are you going to throw to on 3rd and 7? You're going to throw to Cooper Kupp. And it almost doesn't matter who the other receiver is. He's the guy who will get me the 8 yards I need. So why not go to him every chance you get? Because nobody's covering him.
Feels a little bit like the 49ers need to be stubborn in that regard with their top targets. If Sean McVay can figure out a way to feed Cooper Kupp constantly on every important play, you would think that the 49ers would be able to figure out a way to get Deebo Samuel more involved in this passing game. Deebo has yet to record his first receiving touchdown of the entire year. George Kittle still waiting on his first receiving touchdown of the entire year. There's only 2 receiving touchdowns on the 49ers, and one of them honestly shouldn't have counted. Brandon Ayuk came off an illegal screen, and that was the one offensive touchdown that the 49ers scored in the loss in Denver. And the other receiving touchdown was a really nice play to Ross Dwelley, which he gets all the credit in the world for making. He was very good on that play. So the Niners really, really need to open up this passing attack, if nothing else, to just have this defense take a quarter of a step backwards instead of taking a quarter of a step towards the line of scrimmage, because the running game is being telegraphed at any and all times, because it's really the only thing that's working.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, do you go toward the thing you don't do as well or block as well as the thing that you do well? I mean, at some point, if you go against what you perceive as your strength, are you shooting yourself in the foot to spite your toes. And I think that's part of Kyle Shanahan's conundrum. It's, hey, can we, if we're doing a better job running the ball, why wouldn't we run the ball in any clutch situation? I mean, I'm just looking at the 32 quarterbacks who, have played any measurable time, and Jimmy Garoppolo's thrown the ball 50 times. Now, that's not a Garoppolo choice. That's a Shanahan choice. And I think it's clearly because he doesn't trust that his passing game, and that includes the men who block for it, are up to the task. Now, maybe that changes when they play Carolina and Atlanta, two teams that you can throw the ball on. I don't know that it does, but I also don't know that it doesn't. But you can't force yourself to be good at something you're not good at. So I think the most important thing for them is to establish a run game that forces the Rams to overcommit to that, and then you can start throwing the ball, because you've got to do the thing that works first. And if it's not passing, then you better be really good at running the ball. And if you can do that, then you're fine.
By the way, just got handed a list of actives, inactives tonight. Eric Armstead is playing. He is active. Javon Kinlaw, who was sort of a late add to any injury report earlier last week. We talked to Cam Inman about this, and on Wednesday is usually when players start showing up on practice, didn't practice reports, and Kyle Shanahan did not list Javon Kinlaw as out of practice until practice ended. When Javon Kinlaw actually suffered this injury, we don't really know. Maybe it's just a buildup and a lingering from the knee, which we all know has troubled him since he basically has come into the league. But there you go. Javon Kinlaw out tonight. Eric Armstead in tonight. And that, in one way, has to be very good news for the Niners defense, because we all know that Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead do play very well together and around each other. And Bosa's just off to a very good start this year, and that's where we're going to put our focus until Michael Irvin joins us at 4:15. It's officially time to welcome you to your 4 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
And Damon and Ratto here on 95.7 The Game, getting you ready for a little Monday night football tonight. We got 49ers and Rams coming up, and the defense needs to carry the evening. That's the only side of the football that has really carried any games for the 49ers so far. The Niners have won 6 straight regular season games against the Rams. Kyle is 7-3 straight up against the Rams since becoming head coach of the 49ers, with, of course, that stinging defeat in the NFC title game just last year. Nick Bosa, the man is just a force. There is no doubt about it. And there are more 97 jerseys probably walking around this tailgate than any other active player that I've seen so far, with Montana and Rice still figuring out a way to dominate any 49er fan gathering for the most part. But Nick Bosa is clearly reverberating with this fan base as the player that he really is. He is a foundational piece of the current version of the 49ers, and when we start stacking him up against other 49er defensive greats, it really looks like he'll be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with just about all of them. He's a special player. He's basically a sack per game at this point in time in his career. He's got 4 sacks already on the year. The NFL sack leader right now is Alex Highsmith of the Steelers. He's got 5.5. Bosa, not only is a sack a game, he's a sack a game in his last 3 career Monday Night Football games where he has notched a sack a game. And he is, without a doubt, the anchor of a defense which leads the NFL in 3 and outs. Right now, the 49ers lead the NFL with a 44% 3 and out percentage. That's almost half the drives that they have faced going right into punt mode on 4th down. The fact that they're 1-2 with that, Ray, is kind of a damning stat for this offense. It really is.
It's a damning stat for the offense, but it's a little deceptive in that the 3 teams they've played are also inept offensively. So while I'm not disputing the bigger point, this is where this game becomes important because the Rams can't sustain drives. And if the 49ers can produce that level of 3-and-out tonight, then you know it's an elite defense. And by elite, I mean top 3, not just top 6 or top 10. This is the first real test they're going to have. And I wouldn't put it past them to be able to do that because I think they are that good. They just haven't been put to the kind of test that they need to prove that they are an elite defense and a defense that this team can rely on until they figure out how to make this offense work.
You're right to be skeptical of the success that they've had in the 3 games that they've played. But we're reminded every single week that even the bad teams in this league are still pretty good. I mean, they really are. They really, truly are. And those are 3 NFL teams that the Niners have played that well defensively against. Now, a sliding scale, it's always a good idea to put that into play because those really are 3 of the most offensively challenged teams right up until the Seahawks met the Detroit Lions anyways, and that was like a 600-yard offensive afternoon for the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith is putting up 300-yard games on the reg in terms of just passing yardage. That was not expected really by anyone this year. So it is a big night for the 49ers defense. Again, 44% of their defensive possessions have been 3-and-outs. That's number 1 in the NFL. Of the 34 series that they've defended, 15 of them have been 3-and-outs for the other team's offense. That is an awful lot of special teams opportunities for the Niners that they need to start capitalizing on. By the way, the next best 3-and-out percentage goes from the Niners' 44% and plummets to 32% by the Packers. And I'll tell you, I've watched enough of the Packers to not think of them really as an elite defensive unit. So I was surprised to see the drop between 44% and 32% be a 12% drop. And I was doubly surprised that it was the Green Bay Packers that did it. I would have thought it was either going to be Buffalo or possibly Baltimore's defense that had done that. By the way, John Harbaugh, he makes interesting late games decisions. Does anyone else see this? This guy is constantly electing to go for the play to take the lead with a touchdown instead of taking a lead with a field goal. And that's bit him officially like 3 years in a row now.
Yeah, that's his philosophy, which is I'd rather be up by 4 than 3. And I think there are some times when you actually do need to ignore your fans' advice.
Just take the lead.
Just take the lead and not worry about it. And, rely on the defense you say you've got. And their offense is not so good that they can just, rely on, we'll get a touchdown whenever we need it. Because this may come as a surprise to him, but teams are kind of on to Lamar Jackson. They kind of know that he's all they got.
Well, I mean, and even
because
knowing that, you're right. Yeah. Even knowing that, though, this is the first week of the year where he really got slowed down. That was a remarkable comeback by Buffalo. I spent an awful lot of my Sunday afternoon watching that one, and I know the Bills took a loss in Miami, and a lot of people were looking to maybe sell some immediate return stock on the Buffalo Bills. Boy, whoever sold their stock probably shouldn't have. They look very, very good. And Ray, I don't mean to say that this year might get predictable in what looked to be a very cutthroat AFC. I think we're looking at another Bills-Chiefs AFC title game right now. As a matter of fact, I would be stunned to see any team jump up and take one of those 2 team spots in the AFC title game if they can hold serve from an injury standpoint. What Patrick Mahomes did again last night, I don't know if I've ever seen a better quarterback. I know there are quarterbacks with greater resumes. I know there are quarterbacks of teams that we all root for that are, put on high and exalted at all times. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest making something out of nothing football player I think I've seen since Barry Sanders was doing so as a running back with the Lions, where some of his 2.5-yard carries were as spectacular a run as any run you've ever seen in the NFL. Just to get back to the line of scrimmage, that guy made something out of nothing. Patrick Mahomes, that sideline pass to Edwards-Helaire last night, where he basically runs 15 yards backwards, runs 20 yards now towards the line of scrimmage, knows exactly where it is, does a 360 around a defender who's got his hands on him, and flips a chest pass forward to Edwards-Helaire, who was blanketed in the end zone, but still made a play. It was one of the great improvised moments the NFL will have all its year.
Yeah, the chest pass had something on it, too, because it looked when it's leaving his hand like, this will end badly.
Yeah.
But it was thrown so hard that the defender couldn't get to it, which is the most amazing thing. But you're right. I mean, there is Mahomes, and then there is the Justin Herbert, Josh Allen class. And then everybody else wants to fixate on Brady and Rodgers because they're used to doing that for 2 decades. But Mahomes is so good that he's essentially an outlier. He's like Wayne Gretzky. That anybody who says that guy's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes,
just cut him
lying.
off.
They're just lying.
Yeah.
You shut up. No, he's not. Mahomes is...
He's in a group of one.
He's in a group of one, and everybody else is, by definition, going to be a more traditional quarterback. And that allows for the fact that Josh Allen can do a lot of things. He just can't do all those things.
Well, you'll never hear this brought up about Patrick Mahomes because it's almost a nonstop end of compliments, and rightfully so. He's that good. He's fundamentally horrific. I really mean, Patrick Mahomes is fundamentally the quarterback that you should never, no coach in the world would show any quarterback Patrick Mahomes game footage and say, do that. Never have your feet set. Have your feet actually opposite of their proper throwing, setting motion, and it really doesn't matter. The man has more arm angles than Greg Maddux did, for goodness sakes, and there's just, he can do anything he wants to with a football. He can keep any play alive with his legs, foot speed, and he just has as good of a feel for a pocket as anyone in the league. He's remarkable, and yesterday, huge scoops of remarkable on Sunday Night Football. We'll see who is even in the... Well, neither of these quarterbacks are in his category. There is no quarterback in the Mahomes category, but one.
You forgot the time when he threw with the wrong hand.
It doesn't. Yeah, he can do it lefty. He can go southpaw if you need him to.
No, the truth is that's why he's an outlier, and why Andy Reid is a great coach, because he's never tried to break him of those things. It's working. Go right ahead.
Did you see the Andy Reid sneak the tight end right behind the center last night for a gore? I mean, what a touchdown that was drawn up by Andy Reid. Everyone's looking at Mahomes, screaming to his blind side, screaming about, protections over here. Meanwhile, tight end in motion, comes back, no eyeballs on the tight end once he goes in motion. Tight end under center, goal, touchdown on the sneak.
And I'll be real quick about this. Andy Reid not only helped make Patrick Mahomes, or gave him the freedom to be the most improvisational quarterback since Franz Harkenden, he designed an offense that factors that in to every other play call he makes, because he doesn't run that play with any other quarterback.
Right. And it feels like every single time he calls a play, there is the, in case everything breaks down, Mahomes lever built into it somewhere. It's really, really something else. It's brilliant quarterback play meeting brilliant coaching, which is a formula every Niner fan envisioned between Kyle Shanahan and whoever Kyle was coaching. He hasn't quite found it yet. We don't know and will not know now for over a year if Trey Lance is going to be that guy. And this is us spinning our wheels once again in what the 49ers offense might look like tonight. We're going to talk about all of that with one of the great guests that we have each and every week, every Monday, about 4:15. It's time to talk to the playmaker. Michael Irvin joins us next here on 95.7 The Game. It's Damon and Ratto live from the Hilton in Santa Clara. We're brought to you by News Nation.
Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Cuomo premieres on News Nation tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnation.com/join us.
Hey, Becky, what about this beat for your next song?
It's cool, but I'm into faster stuff lately. Like Xfinity that gives me beyond gig speeds.
Got it. What about this then?
It sounds powerful, just like Xfinity. Because its supersonic Wi-Fi has 3 times the bandwidth, you can connect hundreds of devices at once.
That's what I call power.
Unbeatable internet from Xfinity. Made to do anything so you can do anything.
Get the Xfinity Supersonic Bundle with unlimited gig speed internet, Wi-Fi equipment included, and a free 4K streaming box. All for $50 a month with a 2-year internet rate guarantee and no annual contract when you add Xfinity Mobile with unlimited data at regular rates. Go to Xfinity.com/gig, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and autopay. New gigabit extra internet customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Xfinity Mobile requires post-pay Xfinity internet. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes wireless usage. After 24 months, regular rates apply. Requires compatible Xfinity gateway.
Hi, I'm Aaron, owner of California Deluxe Windows. Ever notice? When your neighbors get new windows, there is a large black eye of broken stucco, uneven plaster, and even mismatched paint. At California Deluxe Windows, we never leave a ring around the window. Why? Because we are one of the only companies in California who custom crafts every window and door to your home's exact measurements. Almost everyone else on the radio is a distributor. They grab a window from a warehouse, break open your walls, shove it in, and patch things up. At California Deluxe Windows, we take pride in our work. Our installation technique is so precise, we do not break your stucco. Your house could be covered with potato chips, and we wouldn't crack one.
Call now, and for a limited time, you get 30% off your entire order and 24 months of interest-free financing. 800-874-3600. 800-874-3600. That's 800-874-3600. California Deluxe Windows. Windows engineered for life.
Certain terms and conditions apply. CSLB number 774518.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. No title, no problem. Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS or go online at carsforkids.org to donate today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
This is your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort. To rock and to roll. Over the hills and bluffs. Go all out or go all in. With 4 stars and rising stars. Now we do more than ever. So you can do as much or as little as you want. It's your time to cash in at Cache Creek Casino Resort.
Aw, you didn't have to go so all out for my birthday.
Yes, we did. Because birthdays are about showing your friends how much you care for them and how grateful you are for them. This is Jamie from Progressive. No, this is a great time. Progressive protects you 24/7. Oh, I'm sorry that happened. Jamie, can you hold on 1 second? I gotta take this call, but remember, birthdays are about togetherness.
Contact us 24/7 on the phone, online, or on the mobile app. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at repairclinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
In Petaluma, mostly cloudy overnight, lows in the mid-50s.
Weather brought to you by Pfizer and BioNTech. Whether it's the news, the traffic, the weather, or your COVID-19 vaccinations, it's important to stay up to date.
Now back to Damon and Ratto, live from the Hilton Santa Clara. Brought to you by BMW Fairfield on 95.7 The Game.
Indeed, we are at the Hilton Santa Clara getting you ready for a little Monday Night Football. We're brought to you by Jim Beam Bourbon and by Harris Ranch Beef. Visit your local Chavez supermarkets for all of your beef and tailgate needs. It is good to have you here with us tonight, getting you ready for Monday Night Football. And what can we say that will mean more than what our next and first guest of the show could possibly say about the NFL's Week 4 as it wraps up tonight? The Hall of Famer, Michael Irvin, joins us on 95.7 The Game for his Monday conversation. We always appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much for stopping on by. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great, guys. How are you guys, man?
We're getting ready.
Getting ready for that game, ain't it?
Absolutely. We are sitting right behind a big glass wall. Out in front of it, we got a lot of fans. They're drinking, they're partying, they're eating well, they're tailgating, and so we got the atmosphere here tonight. And look, the Niners need all the home atmosphere they can get, Michael. They do not want to be in last place 4 weeks into their year. They win tonight. Everybody in this division is 2-2. They lose tonight. Everyone's 2-2 except them. They're 1-3.
Right, and you talked about it, man. You know, I was thinking about that. I got my godson goes to TCU, plays for TCU, right? And they're playing Oklahoma, and again, right here, TCU beats them again.
Yeah,
they did it before. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, it's just the atmosphere when you come in and these guys expect to win here. It changes the atmosphere. That's the atmosphere you should have tonight. Right where you are. You've had great success against this team. And in that atmosphere, just like you say, the number one thing and the number two things that I most count on when I'm starting to measure who's going to win a game is, okay, tell me the atmosphere and then tell me how badly a team needs this. Give me the matchup, give me how badly a team needs it. If you can get to Matthew Stafford with your front four, which you have, which you did, which Buffalo did, that's how they won that first game, then you got a shot at getting Matthew Stafford to give you an interception because he's given up 5 this season. So it's the atmosphere, man. This is a great matchup. And you have to be desperate because that matters too. And San Fran, like you said, should be desperate to make sure they all tie this thing up.
And, Michael, the Rams come in, as good as they are offensively, they've kind of become one-dimensional. The offense is basically get the ball to Cooper Kupp right now, who sees 35% of Stafford's passes in this offense right now. He is probably more important to his team than maybe any other wide receiver in the league. Don't you think? When you watch Cooper Kupp play, what makes him so successful?
Right. And you know what's so funny? I've been looking at this, man, because, you know, and I'm going to give you a whole tale of this. The whole tale. When I even said I'm picking Kirk Cousins as my MVP, everybody said, oh, you crazy. What was wrong with you, Michael? You must be doing, you know, okay. But it was because of the conversations I've had with Justin Jefferson and the kind of year he's expected to have. And because he was going to be in that same place that Cooper Kupp is in. That same place, the same position, running around, moving around, doing everything. And they move them around so much, I say it's so difficult to stop them. It's so difficult to stop them. So I've been breaking down the difference between Kupp and Jefferson. But, man, and I always say Sean McVay won't let you take Cooper Kupp out. But they did. Arizona kind of, you know, they got him out of there. They took him out, you know, so things are changing. Things are changing, and that's why I go back to and say that's why I picked Kirk Cousins as an MVP. And even studying these two, what I'm looking at now is maybe it's because who's best at getting off the jam, you know, and Justin Jefferson gets jammed way more than Kupp. For some reason, Kupp is rarely jammed at the line of scrimmage, and that's what I'm working through. That's all as far as I got on it right now. I'm still working on it, so I can't give it all to you. I got to still have to figure it out. But I'm telling you, they make it difficult to get your hands on Kupp. If he gets what I'm basically saying, if he gets all those free releases, then he can do damage. And I think more teams should try to stop him from having those free releases.
How much of that, and you would know this far better than anybody else we talk to, how much of that is the fact that he runs routes so well that cornerbacks are afraid to sort of jam him at the line because if they don't get their jam right, they can never get back to a place where he doesn't have a huge advantage on them?
Well, and understand, I don't know if I would say he runs routes so well, because if you look at Cooper Kupp, he's not a physical phenomenon. You know what I mean? It's not like, boy, when he cut, he's the fastest thing out to cut it. It's that he understands the game so well. And within that system, he has so many options that more likely there's not a right option for you to choose. It's just a least painful option, because they give him so many ways to break on so many routes and such an understanding. It's not like it's really a fair matchup, to be honest with you. And his understanding of the game, it just takes it over the top. Now, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm studying. I'm learning. See, Justin Jefferson, who has probably a better physical skill set than Cooper Kupp, but probably less of an understanding of the game like Cooper Kupp. You see what I'm saying? And he needs more time to understand the game like Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's dad was a coach and sat him down and understood all the game. But that's what makes him so effective and so difficult.
You can never sleep on a coach's son, right?
No, they're uncomfortable. The other thing,
it goes to when I say it's great to know how to get open, because that's a physical thing, but it's even better to know when exactly to be open, because you understand the progress in the play, and now I don't have to beat a guy early if the quarterback's not ready to throw to me. He's a master at that.
The other thing that people who watch the Rams have noticed is that Allen Robinson has not yet been much of a factor.
I know you were going here, and that's basically what we were saying when he became the one team that you rely so much on the receivers. And I was wondering about this, but I put it on Sean McVay to take care of it, because Allen Robinson is I always say he's more like me because he's a big timing dude. He's better when he's in a timing offense. I'm dropping back 4 steps. I'm dropping back 3 steps. I'm letting this ball go. Go up and get it. I need you to be here when it go. When I let this ball go and go up and get it. A bang 8, a 9, a 5 route, 15 back to 17 back to 15, a deep end at 18, rolling up to 20. I need you to be right here on the top of the numbers. It's all timing. But this is not just a timing offense. This is a more schematic offense and a read offense. So you're not just using your physical skill set to go to a position and dominate the ball. You got to read all of this out to decide where to go. And sometimes I see frustration in Allen Robinson in this system because it's not maximizing, I think, his great skill set.
Michael Irvin.
I just want to follow up real quick. What I was going to ask is how much of his start is because Stafford has fallen in love with the reliability of Kupp to the point where maybe he doesn't look for Robinson enough.
Right, but it's you get a big target like Allen Robinson, you're going to try to give him some opportunities, even if you're Matthew Stafford. Now, here's the issue: if I'm trying to give him those opportunities and he ended up in interceptions, whatever, then I'm going to be wanting to throw and give those opportunities to him less. There's no doubt he's in love with Cooper Kupp, but there's no doubt I think he will really want to get Allen Robinson more involved. But I think Allen is thinking the game and not just playing the game right now. And a lot of times when you're thinking the game and not playing the game, you just get frustrated because it always seems like you're a tick behind, and you're hearing the whispers that people are saying, oh, maybe you don't fit and you don't play or you're not the same receiver.
Michael Irvin, the Hall of Famer here on 95.7 The Game. So Deebo Samuel has more rushing attempts than he's got receptions this year, Michael. And this team's entire receiving core has only 2 receiving touchdowns on the year so far. And one could even argue that Brandon Ayuk shouldn't have stood in Denver because there was an illegal pick on it. Do you, in your mind, really still see Deebo as a number 1 wide receiver in this league, or is he more properly billed as the number 1 gadget player in this league?
No, he's the number 1 wide receiver. Now, the question doesn't rely and the lay on him. You know, it's so funny. I was watching, right? I was watching the Packers Patriots game on one TV, and on another TV, I was watching the Raiders and the Raiders play and Broncos game on another TV, and I was watching Aaron Rodgers make perfect throw, and the Packers receiver drop him. And I was watching Devontae Adams get open with just a little hole, just a little spot that Aaron Rodgers used to drop that ball, and Derek Carr was afraid to throw it. And I said, wow, I bet those 2 miss each other. I bet they regret that they're not together because that was quite a view. He's a number 1 receiver, but he has to right now, and that's why I thought it was smart for him, honestly, as a businessman. And I ain't talking about a businessman. I'm talking about a whole business. Pause. Man. Right. I'm talking about to go in and say, let's do my deal now. Because you're asking me to be a part of this quarterback transition that you are working on. And my production may drop. And people may be saying that I ain't quite the receiver. I want to make sure I have my comfort while you're working through that process, and you don't sit here and try to mark me. That's why it was smart for him to go get it. He's a number 1 receiver, but it's going to take something through this process. Now, the game tonight, we should start getting back more to what he is. You should start, because, hey, listen, let's just be real, guys. Let's stop the bull. This game right here, and it's so funny how this football works. You're not getting to where you're going to be in this game without facing every demon or passing every class. I don't care how you want to put it. And right here, all the things you said about Jimmy Garoppolo, all that he's gone through, he probably thought this was going to be an easy season, and now he's facing one of his greatest challenges. After last week's game, this is the game. What are you going to look like? Last week, I can give you an excuse. All right, it's a quick turnaround. But right now, you got to face your demons. You've had great success against this team in the regular season. You haven't had so much success the last few years in prime time. Which one of your demons are going to win tonight? Which one of them are going to win? I shouldn't say demons, because if the right one win, it ain't a demon. It's your good man. If the right one win, it's your good man. But which one of those will win tonight? And I'm looking at this game and saying, I'm expecting the second game back for Kittle to make a great move. I'm expecting Garoppolo and Kittle to do something great in this game. You can get to them with the front 4. You can play with Garoppolo and Kittle because they're going to need each other. It's not an overly throw. Jalen Ramsey will be over there on Deebo, and Garoppolo may be a little more afraid of that. Kittle has had great success against the Rams, more touchdowns against the Rams than any other team. I say this is how you go win this game.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope they can get Kittle out in some pass patterns and not need to leave him on the line of scrimmage to make up for an offensive line that is obviously going to be without Trent Williams tonight. But
that's the worry right there, dude. That's the worry right there.
Yeah.
Trent Williams. And I'm not talking about just on the football field. I'm talking about to set the tone, to set the attitude too. You're gonna miss his physical skill set. but more so to set the tone and set the attitude. When we lost Big E, and we lost in that championship game to the 49ers. We lost that game because we didn't have Big E to set the tone and to set the attitude on that line. We didn't have Big E. He had a car accident. And I'll never forget that. That's what I worry about with Trent Woods. It's the attitude that you got to set.
Michael Irvin here on Damon and Ratto. So one more question about tonight's game before we bounce around week 4 with you just a little bit, Michael. Do you think at all the league has caught up to Kyle Shanahan? Like, he sees his running game parroted around the NFL. His passing game isn't popping quite like it used to. How long can something extraordinary exist in this league before the league turns it into something that is ordinary?
Well, that's a hell of a question now. What you're saying, since so many people are starting to copycat to run his system, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that it's not quite as unique as it used to be. You prepare for Kyle's tendencies week in and week out now.
Right. And you know what? That's how this thing works, right? So now, remember now everybody comes in with this system, and the system works. But then other people learn about it. And then they start getting to your system and with better players. Now you didn't have to go get better players to run your system, because then ultimately what we're saying is it's going to come back down to players beating players. You know, and at some point your system, if it starts spreading, and it is spreading, that more people get more adapt to it, understand it more, and everything. And that's the truth. But now, I think Kyle is pretty much a master at his. Now, he's had some success against Sean McVay. So that means it's something he has, or it's something. It's something. They've worked with each other enough. It's something that he's holding that he hadn't even talked to Sean McVay about, that has helped him with his success. So let's see how this plays out.
Looking at the Rams, though, they seem like they're a half step off from the team that we remember, particularly in January. Do you see the same things, or are they as good as they've been? And if they're not as good as they've been, how much is that it's too early in the season to know? No. They're a half step off, but can you imagine why? Allow me to just share with you how that plays out. Every time you win a Super Bowl, anyway, any team was, you got to worry about everybody getting all these little radio shows, everybody patting them on the back. Can you imagine how many times that must be multiplied out in L.A.? The city of Hollywood. You know, you sleepwalk through it all season with everybody patting you on the back. Then you have to realize, and you hope it's not too late, like, dude, man, we got to get back to it. And to some degree, I think that is what has happened in L.A. But also, you get a perfect storm of people together. You know, Von Miller's not in that locker room anymore. You know, Odell Beckham had come over and had given them that boost that they needed. So, you know what I mean? So, yeah, this is a different football team. But they have that champion mentality, and they have that champion pride. They know they've done it before, and that's what they'll draw on. So it'll still be tough games.
Michael Irvin here on 95.7 The Game. So concussion protocols have obviously been a huge topic this week. What is the one thing, Michael, the NFL can start doing better right now, without an investigation, without conclusions, without a change in protocol? As a former player, what would you like to see the NFL doing right now to better enact some in-game player safety?
I can't even begin to tell you how unqualified I am to even speak to that. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
And here's the reality and why I say that. Here's the reality and why I say it. I think we have absolutely have been out of place and out of line with what I believe have been the little slight accusations we threw at Mike McDaniel with all that would happen with Tua. You know, it was like, okay, listen, what is in this man's history that will make you think he is wanting to put this man in harm's way. When I saw him having to explain himself, like, Demetua and I were very close. I said, why should you have to do that? Why? What did this man do for us to try to slyly point at him as if he's done something wrong? You got people that are way more qualified than him to make decisions on medical issues. They said that the kid was fine, and it was just wrong, I think, of us to try to act as if this guy, this new coach who's come in and done a great job, done a super job over at Miami, and grabbing these talented players and putting them in a position to win, all of a sudden you're going to put a stain on his name like he's putting players at risk. I thought it came from places of jealousy in the NFL. People even said stuff, and I call it hyperbole, to make that point more grand and to make him look even more worse by saying things like, well, I haven't seen anything like this in 40 years. I mean, stop. We've only been doing this for 12. And in the old days, we would get hit. I got knocked out in a football game, stumbled, wobbled over. They took me to the sideline, put smelling salts up under my nose, wake you up, and throwing you back in the game. All of this was on TV, and it was less than 40 years ago. So that's all I'm saying. I want everybody to be healthy. We want everybody to be healthy. I am not qualified, and a lot of us, we need to stop acting as if we are qualified, and we know when we see things. Let's let this. And if you want to do that. But just make sure you're pointing anger in the right place. And I thought going at Coach McDaniel, I thought that was unjust. That was not right. There's nothing in this man's history of his character that said he's that way. And he's a young man. Players are going to choose, do I want to go play with him a lot? I don't want to get on a rant. I just want us to be careful with stuff like that.
Ignoring where the blame for what happened should be pointed, is there an intermediate solution to be found somewhere in maybe just having someone who isn't connected to the league or the Players Association or anybody else to be able to say, if that looks like it might be a head injury, he doesn't play for the rest of the game until he can get a full evaluation? Is there a value in that, and do you think that's plausible?
There is a value in that, and I don't think anyone should have a problem with that. Yes, and that takes him off the hook. He's a first-year coach. We all don't understand, and nobody's saying that any winning is more important. But as a first-year coach, your relationship and all that with your team matters. So you know what I mean. These guys are going to want to play. You got to try to monitor all of that, but your relationship moving forward matters. So to act as if he can come in and just start doing whatever he wants to do, and not worry about a relationship. All of that he's taking into consideration. Yes, he's talking to his players. All of that moving forward matters. That's what great leaders do. Now, when it comes to the medical, the more experts we have that say, no, you can't play, take it out of the hands of those that are not experts, I'm all for that. I'm just not okay with an assassination of a man who had a sparkling character on something like this when we got the people in place. When we have the people in place, and he's going by the information they gave him.
Michael, you are a treasure each and every Monday. Thank you so very much. Next week, we'll get into exactly how many Cooper Rush jerseys you're ordering for family members this Christmas. But thank you very, very much for joining us. Always a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
All right, guys. Again, I apologize for going off about that, man. I just, it's what's right. It's what's right.
This is why we have you as a resource on this show, and we're thankful for it. Thank you, Michael.
All right, buddy.
There he is, the one and only Michael Irvin here on 95.7 The Game. He's a Hall of Famer, and what he says about the NFL, carries some weight around the NFL for sure. We're going to carry the rest of the show, bringing you up to kickoff tonight. I see Larry Krueger is somewhere on premises, which means we're going to get into the nitty-gritty and the breakdown of all tonight as we get you closer and closer to kickoff here. It's Damon and Ratto coming to you live from the Hilton in Santa Clara, brought to you by Jim Beam and by Harris Ranch Beef. We're also brought to you by Fremont Bank. Full-service banking, no compromises.
Hey, guys, Mike Valeni for Cash the Ticket Podcast.
Now back to Damon and Ratto, live from the Hilton Santa Clara. Brought to you by BMW Fairfield on 95.7 The Game.
Live from the Hilton in Santa Clara, Damon and Ratto. Let me give you your quick inactives tonight. No Javon Kinlaw tonight. Rookie wide receiver Danny Gray isn't going tonight. Rookie running back Ty Davis-Price isn't going. Tight end Tyler Croft isn't going. Tavarius Moore's not going. And, of course, Trent Williams inactive tonight. Eric Armstead is active. He is active tonight. And we have also activated Larry Krueger to join us here for this segment. Larry, thank you very much for joining us on Damon and Ratto.
Yep.
How are you, man? Thank you very much. Now, did you get golf carted over here, or did you use your own 2 feet?
No, I walked through the parking lot, and there is a lot of Niner fans having a very good time.
It's a perfect day for a football game. It's a perfect day for a football game. It's actually absolutely gorgeous out there. The tailgate out in front of us has been fantastic. I can imagine it's been getting a little choppy in the parking lot as well. So, look. The Niners need as much of a home field advantage as this place can give tonight, and having a crowd come in hot off of some good tailgating can maybe give this team the good start, maybe offensively, that it really hasn't gotten so far this year.
Yeah, they need some rhythm, right? They're really out of rhythm offensively, and how do you reestablish that rhythm? That's, a question up to Kyle Shanahan. Last year, they entered that Week 10 matchup, and I felt like Shanahan kind of made it a referendum on toughness, the way they came out. Just 18-play drive. I think it was like maybe a dozen runs in there in the 18 plays. And
they ran 44 times the last regular season game they played against this team.
And if you look at it, they didn't run that effectively. It was like 3 yards a pop, but they just stayed with it. And, you can run around or you can run through. And last year they kind of chose to run through. And I felt like it was such a referendum on toughness that when the Rams got beat, Aaron Donald was just irate from what I've heard. And then they went into that second game saying, we're going to show how tough we are. And they got away from their real advantage, which was Cooper Kupp on the Niners slot corner. By the time the playoff game rolled around, McVay had learned his lesson, and it was a lot of Cooper Kupp.
Well, the other thing that happened in that regular season game is the 49ers scored the first 2 times, and they had a 14-0 lead.
Yep.
And Kyle Shanahan is basically playing with the casino's money at that point.
Right.
I'm going to run. You're not going to get the ball. And then they come back and they give up the touchdown to Higbee, and then he scored 3 more times.
Yeah. Wasn't it Jimmy Ward that had the...
Yeah, he had the interception return. So it wasn't an offensive triumph, but 14 points is 14 points. And, that's how Kyle Shanahan's offense best works. Give him a lead that's more than just a touchdown, and then he can defend it the way he wants to defend it. And I think part of his problem has been he's wanted to defend any lead he gets that way. Because 7 isn't enough against almost anybody. So you can't sort of go into your 44 run a game shell if you're only up a touchdown. I mean, he has to figure out a way to get a bigger lead, and then he can just stand on the other guy's throat.
It's a great point, because what happened in game week 1 and week 3, week 1 they got derailed by a dozen penalties. I think week 3 they got derailed by 3 turnovers, a lot of them late. That's what you're talking about. You can't have a team kind of hanging around if you're then going to make those kinds of mistakes late in the game and give them a chance to win. But if you can get a 14-0 lead, a 10-0 lead, I would say 10's the mark. But if you can get up 14 points or 17 points, run the heck out of it and maybe take 1 full possession away from Stafford.
Let's say it is something egregious like a 40-carry night for the 49ers. Let's give Jeff Wilson Jr. 20 of those just by default of him being the RB1 on the depth chart tonight. After that, do you think we're going to get... Will Jordan Mason get a carry tonight before we see Kyle Shanahan lean on, Tevin Coleman or, the other running... Do you think we're going to see the rookie tonight?
I will say yes, but you know what? Chris Forster has done a couple interviews, the O-line coach, and he always sounds like he doesn't want to see J.P. Mason, or there's some hesitancy to put him out there. Like he said a couple weeks ago when he sat down with us, he's like, Mason looked good, and he showed some things in the preseason. Let's see what happens when the lights shine brightly, and that was going into the Denver game. He got that one carry, he ran for 7 yards. He looked pretty good. I think most of us wanted to see more touches from him. I get the sense, Damon, that he will be in line behind maybe a Marlon Mack or a Tevin Coleman, just because he is a young player. He runs a little upright. There's always the propensity to fumble when you run upright. I think he's won over a lot of us, but we're easy to win over. I'm not sure if he's won over Lynn, Shanahan. Now also you have the last year's running back coach is back with him as well. So those guys are probably a little bit more harsh critics on how they want it done. And this kid is 230 and he can break tackles, but he runs upright. And rookie running backs notoriously don't hit the hole as fast as the Bobby Turners of the world want them to. So, we'll see how they evaluate at practice. My guess is Coleman gets the first run behind the starter.
Go Hoosiers.
That's right. He's a Hoosier.
Never miss an opportunity.
Never.
The other thing that's been noticeable about the Rams' defense is that they're better against the run than they have been in the past. So that maybe, that's where the game will be decided. If the 49ers can run the way they used to against this version of the Rams, then maybe that's the enduring advantage that is going to define the game.
They added a Hall of Famer in Bobby Wagner, and Bobby Wagner's long in the tooth, but he's still as good against the run. I think the one area of Ray that I think is really interesting in this game is, if you guys remember last year's Seattle game, Wagner torched the Niners on those delayed blitzes from the inside backer position, just right up through the A-gap. And he's so smart. He's kind of like a linebacker version of Hufanga, who just reads everything and doesn't hesitate. Well, Bobby Wagner's the same way. If you're one of those young interior offensive linemen and you think you've got a handle on the surface, and all of a sudden you look to your left and here comes Wagner. He's going to shoot that gap. So does Bobby Wagner impact this game, not only as a run defender, but as a pass rusher? That's what I'm looking for.
Well, he's so familiar with the Niners, how they go about playing, how they go about blocking and setting up their schemes. He just has an incredible internal knowledge of the way the Niners go about their business. And, we always have to look at what Aaron Donald is doing, where he is on the field. He is a game wrecker extraordinaire. It's stunning, though, how ineffective he's sort of been rendered against the 49ers. Aaron Donald has 1 sack in his last 5 games against the Niners after having 10.5 in the previous 6 games against the 49ers. What, if anything, can you prescribe to that? Because this guy, we all know, he's a future Hall of Fame caliber game-wrecking defensive lineman. But Daniel Brunskill has had great afternoons against Aaron Donald.
He really has. I mean, where he's almost completely neutralized Donald. I think, and I don't have the absolute, statistical breakdown to say that this is absolutely law, but my sense of it is that Donald is so fast and he's so good in pursuit that most teams run away from him. And he gets you anyway. Where the 49ers, I think, fool him with a lot of the motions and the shifts. There's a lot going on pre-snap, and then they'll run right at him. And he, it's a combination of they just need you don't need that hold open long just for a second, and they get his eyes moving, and then they run at him, and his time to react doesn't. And they take his pursuit ability and they use it against him. I mean, that's what makes him special. He's arguably the greatest defensive tackle ever. Maybe better than Reggie White. Maybe better than Mean Joe Green. But where's he really better than those guys? His pursuit away from him is like linebacker-like. So I think they run at him, and I think they'll probably try to do a combination of things, but never gloat, because just when you think you got him, he steps up and plays
and makes the punctuating sack of the NFC title game to wrap it up.
Exactly.
Offensively, the Rams don't look the same. They can't run the ball. They don't have enough running backs for starters, and they don't like to run the ball. Is this the game in which we find out for sure whether the 49ers are a truly elite defense or a defense that's pretty good against bad offenses.
Yeah, that's a good question, too, because the Rams I was looking at the splits. The Rams are 55-45 pass-run split. The Niners are the opposite. Niners are passing the ball 55% of the time, or running it 55% of the time and passing it 45%. The interesting thing is they don't have OBJ, and they don't have Van Jefferson. So they don't have the same weapons to put the three wides out there and really test you. They've been using Skoranek, the Notre Dame wide receiver, as a back in the backfield at fullback to kind of change up the look, make people pause, and to get that extra receiver on the field. But I think we're going to find out if the 49er D-line, minus DJ Jones and Kentavious Street, tonight minus Kinlaw, how good is it? How good is this D-line? Because the Ram O-line doesn't have,
Whitworth.
Doesn't have Whitworth, but they also have some injuries as well. And if they can't move Stafford off the spot, it's going to be a long night. I mean, they have to move him.
We're here live at the Hilton in Santa Clara. It's great to have you along. We're getting closer and closer to kickoff tonight. It's Damon and Ratto on 95.7 The Game. Larry Krueger walking us up to kickoff tonight, basically, and welcome everyone to your 5 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
So, look, when it comes to who might be the next guy in that backfield, I guess I forgot to bring up Deebo Samuel because it seems like he is now appointed as an understudy running back as much as he's been asked to be this team's true primary number one receiver so far this year. He doesn't have the targets, the catches, or he doesn't even have a touchdown in the receiving game so far. I asked this of Michael Irvin, who insisted, he's still definitely a number one wide receiver, but I just look at him now more as a gadget guy than I see him as a number one wide receiver. And it seems like Ayuk has maybe asserted himself in that role.
I think Ayuk's got better ball skills. He's got better hands. He's got a bigger catch radius. He's just a better receiver. But where Deebo's a difference maker, guys, is run after the catch. Yeah. And what they're struggling with right now is they're using him as a running back, but he needs to get 3 strides. If he gets 3 strides, good luck bringing him down. I mean, especially if you can get 3 strides and he gets on that second level. Now it's Deebo and a backer. Or he gets to the next level, it's Deebo and a safety. And he's got 2-3 strides. You're not bringing him down. He's like T.O. in his prime with a little bit more compact, build. So what we've seen so far is they've used him as a runner a lot. But he's getting, before he can get to that second step, they're corralling him. They're keying him in the backfield, saying if he's in the backfield, he's going to carry it. He's not going to be a lead blocker. He's going to carry it. And then they're going a lot of east-west with him. They're not doing any of these fly sweeps where they're getting him on the perimeter. And he's not getting to the perimeter. And they're getting penetration and they're bringing him down. So to me, it's about, can you maybe throw him a few more passes instead of handing him the ball? Can you get him the ball within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but with a head of steam? If you can, I think he's a much better player.
Do you think we see George Kittle out in the amount of patterns that I want to see him in? Feels like if there were ever a night to err on the side of caution and being, involved in blocking, run blocking, pass blocking without Trent Williams out there with an offensive line that's, got a lot of new guys along for the ride. George Kittle needs to be out in pass patterns. George Kittle needs to be used as a receiving tight end more than a blocking tight end, even though maybe that's what he does the best. But he's got more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns against the LA Rams than any player in the NFL since he was drafted in 2017. And I think leaving him on the line of scrimmage to buy Jimmy, an eyelash more time, clearly that's important. But this guy's got to make some plays. I mean, that's this team needs an offensive player to make plays in a passing game. Since the quarterback doesn't seem to be the first guy to take that charge, it's got to be Deebo. It's got to be Kittle. It's not going to be Danny Gray, who, we still don't know what he's going to be, if anything, this year. I think Kittle needs to have a game where you feel him for them to win tonight. I think the Rams are winning this game tonight. I do. I think that the 49ers have so many offensive concerns that without their defense looking like an absolute juggernaut tonight, they're going to have trouble putting up 3 touchdowns until I actually see it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, actually. I don't. If you told me the Rams are going to win this game, I wouldn't be like, what? No way. I think the Rams have a very good chance to win the game. If I have one, I don't know, kind of feel on this game, I think it's going to be low scoring. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. 49ers offense has struggled. Rams have a really good defense. Even though it's not elite, it still can cause a lot of problems. You got a true number 1 corner. You got guys you got to double up front. You got Bobby Wagner reading the thing in the middle of the field. So they're strong on all 3 levels. But I think the 49ers have to show me that their offense is on getting back in rhythm. I'm never going to predict it until I see it. And I think the Niner defense is good enough with the Rams' limitations with their wide receivers, their limitations on the O-line. Stafford under pressure throws you a pick or 2. I think this is a low-scoring game. I think this is a 23-10. 20-13, something like that, and either side could win.
11-8 with 5 safeties.
Exactly. Exactly.
Somebody tell Jimmy how many yards the end zone is this week?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't care. People saying, well, he's rusty. Nobody's that rusty. All right, this guy's played the guy played a full high school career. I watched high school football for days. I've helped coach high school football. I haven't seen a high school football quarterback drop out of the end zone. I don't see it in college. For Jimmy to do it and for people to apologize for it.
No, a lot of excuses have been made about, well, gee, he's out of practice. No, he's not. Okay, he stepped out of the end zone because he screwed up. He had an Orlovsky moment, period. What I'm more interested in is the notion that without Trent Williams, the 49ers are neither a good pass blocking team or now a very good run blocking team. If that's true, does it really matter who gets focused on in the offense if they can't block successfully? Because it seems like they are neither one nor the other at this point.
I think they're a much stronger run blocking line than a pass blocking line. Banks.
Well, but that's been traditionally true. But are they as good run blocking this year as they have been in the past?
I think they're better because I think like Burford on that 37-yard run that Jeff Wilson had in the first quarter, Burford just buried DJ Jones, and McGlinchey had a beautiful backside block, and Wilson took 2 steps to his left, cut it back, and there was nothing there. He had 2 steps and he was gone. I think Burford and Banks and now McKivitz are all good run blockers. McKivitz he's a short arm tackle, so he's not going to be able to be that kind of a pass blocker. But you don't have Von Miller here anymore, so you've got that side not quite the same. The guy that I'm really interested to see as far as affecting what the Niners do up front is A'Shawn Robinson, because A'Shawn Robinson has not had a good start to his year. I don't think he has a single pressure on the year. And if you guys remember the NFC Championship, man, A'Shawn Robinson was just maybe the game of his life. He was absolutely huge. So, Ray, I think the answer is they ran behind Tom Compton at times last year. We forget that. You had Compton and Brunskill on the right side. Hardly big-time household names the last month of the year. And they had some success running behind them. I think McKivitz is a really good run blocker and understands the positioning well. But pass blocking is a totally different thing. So I'll say they're a stronger run blocking line.
Can they pass block? Well, let me ask it this way. If they're a better run blocking team this year than they were last year when Kyle Shanahan wanted to run the ball 40-plus times, and the only reason why he didn't in the conference final is because the Rams took that away, should we expect this to be the passing game breakout, or should we wait till Atlanta or Carolina?
The only way this is going to be the passing game breakout game is if the Rams defensive coordinator says, you know what, we don't have Eric Weddle anymore, but we are going to play that exact same plan. We're going to stick the extra guy on the line of scrimmage and give every indication that, make you want to spread us out and throw it over the top of our heads. So, and there could be some of that, but ultimately, I think that the 49ers, if you're going to try to beat this Rams team, you're probably going to want to neutralize the dynamic nature of their offensive attack. And I think Kyle Shanahan will try to do that by just trying to dominate the time of possession. I mean, we saw Arizona did a really nice job dominating time of possession against the Rams, and I just think that's got to be the 49er game plan is dominate the time of possession and see if you can get up in the game and make them more one-dimensional. And then they don't have the receivers that they had a year ago. The big question, I think, is how much better are the 49ers against Cooper Kupp and the slot receiver with Diamador Lenore in year 2 and Samuel Womack and then Ward and Mosley on the outside than they were when these teams battled in the playoffs? Because they had no answer for Kupp in the playoffs. They really had no answer for Kupp in any of the games. The Rams just went away from him. They're not going to do that favor to the Niners today.
Kupp's last 3 games against San Francisco, 11 catches, 14 targets, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. That was the NFC title game. 7 catches on 7 targets for 118 yards and a touchdown. That was the game before. That was the week 18. And 11 catches on 13 targets, 122 yards, no touches. But Cooper Kupp, look, 29 catches, 382 yards, and 3 touchdowns against the 49ers just last year. And obviously that includes the postseason letdown in the NFC title game. How that carries the night, if the Niners are still stinging more from that defeat, other than leaning on the 7-3 regular season success that Kyle Shanahan's had on McVay, we're about to find it all out. If the Niners are winning this one, they need big games, I think, out of Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead. Let's see what you look like for the first time this year, basically. And Talanoa Hufanga has been all over the NFL so far. He needs to be all over tonight's game as well. I want to, Larry, be able to get you in there in time for kickoff. So last question from me, and then Ray can delay your exit as long as he wants to. It's been a week of concussion conversation, right? Really, that we haven't seen in a couple of years in the NFL. Without leading the witness in any way, what were your big observations from this topic as it's come up in the last, since Thursday night, and Tua got destroyed in Cincinnati? Where do you think we are on this? Where do you think the NFL goes with this?
Well, they want us to all say that they are addressing it with tremendous seriousness and that this is totally on their radar, and that they're not doing things for the sake of doing things, but they actually have thought about this problem. But I just don't. I'll believe it when I see it. A star player who gets who's actually, his nonverbal's a little wobbly, or he's not quite moving right, and then suddenly you're going to pull him out of a game. Okay, that sounds great. And when the game's not going on, but wait until it's the playoffs and it's Josh Allen, and now that takes Buffalo out of the mix. Are they going to prevent Josh Allen from coming back on the field? Or is it going to be like I mentioned to you guys off the air? Is it going to be like Doug Fister in the World Series against the Giants, where somebody hit a line drive off the side of his melon, and he didn't even come out of the game. He just kept pitching. Why? Well, because he said it was the World Series. He said he was fine, and it was the World Series. Are we going to is the magnitude of the moment going to factor in at all? And should it? I don't think it should if we're talking about strict medicine and we really care about the players. We're going to say that this is the player's safety is our priority. Is it? Or is a team from a major market whose quarterback is now going to be knocked out of the game or knocked out of a future game, is that the priority? Are we prioritizing dollars and cents and ratings and that kind of thing? Or are we prioritizing?
You just answered your own question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think when medicine's involved that dollars and cents would still take a back seat, but that's naive.
No, it's not. You're right. It's not only naive, it's preposterous because they ultimately don't care. That's the lesson here. It's that they've never really fully addressed how to evaluate this stuff. They think it's a negotiating tool rather than a medical priority. Because if it's a medical priority, it seems to me that the best short-term thing is to just say, that looks like it might be a head injury. You can't play again today. But then that opens up another can of worms, which is what's the downside to just having somebody haul off and hit a quarterback in the head 5 steps late? You get thrown out, but he doesn't get to play anymore. Because look, there's no more cynical game than football. So, where does this line begin or end? And I think the NFL just tries to figure out what will cost them the least amount of money.
It's interesting you brought that up, too, from the standpoint of what do you think of the idea of taking the person who delivers the punishment and taking them off the field until that quarterback's ready to roll? It's still not a fair one-on-one deal because it's a quarterback versus a safety or quarterback versus an outside backer. But it seems like there's no real price to pay for going after the quarterback now, so at least that would add to the deterrent factor.
Unless you make it a fully suspendable thing where you go, you not only don't play again today, you don't play again for several weeks.
And you don't get game checks.
Yeah, make it a deterrent that will even cause them to not even risk it.
Yeah. Is the entire division 2-2 by the time we sleep tonight, or is the entire division 2-2 except for the Niners?
I'm going to say the 49ers get it done. And the only reason I really feel that way is because the odds seem wrong to me. I think the Rams should be favored by 1.5 or 2, and that the Niners tells me that, maybe there's some equation here. I would say the guy that I expect to have a big game if they do what I expect them to do and slide the line towards Nick Bosa is Samson Ebukam, who I think Ebukam's going to party in the backfield.
Ebukam revenge game.
Yeah, this is a 3-sack night for Samson Ebukam.
Larry, thanks so much for stopping on by.
Good to see you guys.
Just heard a distant foghorn, even though the skies are blue and there is not any fog in sight. Get into that press box, and I'll see you in there in just a little bit.
Sounds good. Good to see you guys.
Thank you very much. Larry Krueger stopping on by. He is your pregame host along with Lorenzo Neal as soon as we get back to playing football on Sundays. Larry, thank you for stopping on by. And we want to remind you to stick around for our postgame show tonight with Kyle and Alan Stiles. They're going to be taking your calls and breaking everything down that is about to happen inside of Levi's Stadium. We also had a big, like, what was that, a B-1 bomber, whatever that was, flying over. That was a look at it this way. That was such a loud jet exhaust that there are now hundreds of car alarms going off in Santa Clara, which being a residential neighborhood, they must be in love with.
In this parking lot, that's not a surprise.
It's not a surprise at all. It's a big game for the 49ers. Again, you do not want to be 1-3 while the rest of the division is 2-2. And your next two games are on the road. Now, Carolina, that feels winnable. But give respect to every NFL team. A great way to lose an NFL game is to look past an opponent. And then the Atlanta Falcons, they're a little more frisky than I think anyone really anticipated them being so far this year. Again, in that log jam of 2-2 after 4 weeks. So there is nothing easy on an NFL schedule. There truly isn't. The Niners, to prove that, just got through the easy part of their schedule, playing ears pinned back level, fantastic defense, and they're sitting at 1-2 so far this year. So this game is a big one tonight. It really is. I'm not saying it's the end-all, be-all, but it's a fork in the road, Ray, of whether this thing stays on a path that is easy to negotiate or whether you are now running just to stay on the path, and that path is very much tilted uphill.
I don't think this is going to be easy at all at any point because I've never thought that this looked like a 12-win team. I think it's the kind of nail-biter season where they'll either be 8 or 9 or 9 and 8. They'll be on the edge of the playoff chase, maybe sneak in, but maybe not. Because I think beyond the fact that originally they were going to trust all this to a rookie quarterback, now they've got injuries to important pieces that change that equation even more. I think the 49ers right now, with the players they have, are incomplete. I don't know how good they are. And I think they're going to be a team that doesn't really build momentum or build either way, good momentum or bad momentum. So I think you're just going to have to strap in. This is going to be a bumpy ride. I would drink.
Defensive football. It's got to be the way that the Niners win this one, probably not just tonight, but all year long. The Niners have outgained their opponent in all 3 games so far, but in their 2 losses, they've committed 5 turnovers and have just 1 takeaway. So create a takeaway tonight. Jimmy, protect the ball as much as you can. Ease up on the YOLO passes. If he struggles tonight, I think one of the more interesting things will be to see how this crowd reacts to a middling Jimmy Garoppolo or a not even able to middle a game Jimmy Garoppolo. I wonder if the Fangs might come out for him, Kyle, the team. I don't. It's going to be interesting to see. Will the Boo Birds be out tonight for the own team's offense?
It might, but then again, there's a significant segment of 49er fans who don't really worry about whether they win or not, as long as they get to hate the offense. I think if they win 20-10, they'll be dissatisfied. If they lose 20-10, they'll be infuriated. And if they lose 31-28, they'll be pissed that the offense worked, because that means more time with Jimmy.
Always fun. Never a dull moment with Jimmy Garoppolo, that is for sure. This defense is allowing 12 points per game over its first 3 weeks. That was third best in the NFL coming into this week. And I'll tell you, Tampa and Denver were in front of them. Denver obviously just gave up enough points to lose in Las Vegas. And Tampa gave up so many points that it fell from the best defensive points per game average in football to 5th, thanks to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs just last night on Sunday Night Football. The 49ers defense only allowing 3.9 yards per play, so they need to keep that up tonight. And obviously, if they do, the odds could certainly tip into their favor. The offense, again, averaging only 16 points per game over its first 3 weeks. Ray, since we're pretty much at the end of this, and we'll invite a lot of people to stick around for Michael Irvin, who we're going to replay for you as we settle into some football tonight. For the first time in a long time, this show has an official gambling segment. And even though we said it was going to be the Vikings -3 to fade the public, Lucas, you gave us an incomplete line. It was actually 3.5 to 4. I don't know what you were looking at, but Ray, who is more of a gambler than I think either of us, said that he only saw Vikings -3.5, Vikings -4, which would take us, Ray, from a push to a win against Fave the Public Fridays. So should we sort of fugazi the segment to say that it's a win?
Do what you wish, because the great thing is, it doesn't matter what the universal line is. It's the one you got.
Right.
If Lucas gave you 3, then 3, I guess it is. Now, I don't know where Lucas gets his numbers. I suspect he probably makes them up like he does everything else. But if you want to call it a win, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
So here's the deal. Lucas, through your crack research, what we need you to do is each week come up with the Fade the Public game. Then we'll use the most accurate, up-to-date line that satisfies Ray Ratto to make sure we have it. And again, this is no influence by us. We are not choosing the game. We are not choosing the spread. We are not choosing the location. We are only going to be fading the public against the biggest number that we can find going into each and every week. I'm declaring us 1-0 in this segment. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna fudge the numbers just a little bit. I'm gonna declare us 1-0. Is everyone comfortable with that?
I'm good with it.
Yeah,
also, the other two picks, one is happening tonight, the Niners. We would have faded the public. The public's on the Rams, and the smart money is on the Niners, so we like the Niners tonight. The other is the Cardinals, when like 90% of all of the action was on the Cardinals against the Panthers. Just an awful football game, but the Cardinals ran away with that one. So we would have lost that.
We would have lost that. Again, there were percentages that were very seductive, but 91% of the money was on the Vikings against the banged-up Saints. That's why we rolled, Saints plus 3.5. Almost got it done. As far as we're concerned, did get it done.
In Ray's book, it's a win, so we'll take it.
It's a win. We're calling it a win.
Thanks, Ray.
Plus, you could fade the public tonight. This line opened with a total of 51. It's now 42.5.
Ooh.
So everybody's pounding the under. If you want to fade the public, you bet the over. You'll have to sweat that one out.
I believe technically we have kicked off and we're underway, so I hope you got all your bets in because, of course, as you know, all bets are indeed action. I guess we should, just for a quick moment, lay the San Francisco Giants down to rest. They are officially, mathematically now eliminated from any postseason wildcard conversation. We all kind of knew it was coming. They did a really nice job treading water over this last homestand, last couple of weeks. They could have faded and died. They didn't. My fear, Ray, is that they're going to take a decent September here and trying to say, oh, well, that's the year we should have had. They need money. They need players. And what you're looking at definitely needs to be concluded is that ain't good enough to get it done around here. I hope that that is the way ownership is looking at it.
The last 3 games, they drew 24, 22, and 24,000. That's the message.
It's been beautiful.
People are not going to go out to watch this. That's if that's the motivation they need, then that's where it'll be found. Because this doesn't hold. Even within a nice second half of September, they still have to acknowledge the fact that they'd have been eliminated well before this if either the Brewers or the Phillies could have gotten out of their own way. So I think the lesson here is they're now a team that isn't an automatic ticket. They're now a team that has to work for it. I mean, they're a team like Cleveland.
The ballpark alone is not the draw anymore.
No, the ballpark alone has not been the draw, but the thing that they were able to do last year was get people rallied around the notion that this team punches uphill. And this year they didn't. They punched their weight and they won some and they lost some. They're an average team with average players. And if you want to change either of those things, you either better hit on some minor leaguers fast or start to be a player in free agency, which they have tried to avoid for the most part.
Did you enjoy the Mets gagging away a huge series against Atlanta? They had literally, the New York Mets, sat in first place the entire year, right up until it mattered, and now they're going to be the wild card team.
Yeah, I actually saw that coming, and one of the tip-offs was when Jacob deGrom couldn't avoid giving up home runs to A's. I mean, the A's hit fewer homers than any team in baseball except Detroit. And they took him over the fence 3 times, and then he got routed again the other day. The Mets basically they were running on fumes. While Atlanta is hitting the ground like they did last year, and they're a 700 team.
What are the Mets going to do with DeGrom and Scherzer having arm fatigue at the end of the year?
Well, they're going to die a horrible death.
And on that note,
here's to horrible death.
Hey, this is a show that isn't even close to being over. I want you to stick around because coming up next, Michael Irvin, who joined Ray and I just last hour to talk about the game that's happening at Levi's tonight, talk about the week that just happened around the NFL. We have a very interesting back and forth with Michael about concussion protocols, wishes, desires, and all that jazz. So that is what's coming up next here on 95.7 The Game, live from the Hilton in Santa Clara. Our coverage brought to you by Jim Beam Bourbon Whiskey. Taste the world's #1 bourbon, and by Harris Ranch Beef. Visit your local Chavez supermarkets for all of your beef and tailgate needs. Much more around the corner. Damon and Ratto, brought to you by Fremont Bank. Full service banking, no compromises.
Brought to you by On Deck Small Business Loan.